By now, you've probably heard about this whole lockdown nostalgia. Longing for those days of toilet paper brawls, cringy celebrities, funny Zoom interruptions, and of course, baptism. It was a weird time, yet I have a little sentiment for it myself. Where we couldn't have fulfilling social lives, Animal Crossing New Horizons quickly became a solid replacement. I stayed up all night playing with my friends, getting in quality time with some who I haven't gotten the chance to catch up with in years. And I got to meet so many more people from all over the world, talk with them about the pandemic and their situation, and heal together. It might just be a video game, but I don't think I'm lying when I say we made unforgettable memories here. Physical absence is nothing in the face of a bunch of laid-off grown adults at 5 a.m. trying to catch a pop-eyed goldfish. But then, something weird happened. Quarantine ends, and I go outside.
Man.
I finally hang out with my friends again. It's a really great feeling. And when we go to get back on Animal Crossing, the multiplayer we've all poured hundreds of hours into is suddenly awful. It's boring. It's the most nothing activity. Of course, the thing is, it always has been. And I mean, it always has been. Kind of. Animal Crossing multiplayer hasn't changed a ton over the years. When Wild World first introduces multiplayer, like real multiplayer, it's a huge deal. The game about social simulation is introducing a whole new society. Now you can fully interact with friends, give your own tour, share designs, trade items, much easier. And this isn't just local multiplayer, but Wi-Fi too. You can bring your DS anywhere and play with anyone nearby, or play with anyone, anywhere, all over the world. This is wild. The possibilities are endless. The possibilities have ended. So, we have a minor issue. Trading items and looking around to see who or what is in town does not take very long. And after that, nothing left to do but hit each other with nets for the next 2 hours. Haha, so funny. All the fun stuff you would normally do when someone is not in your town is restricted when they are. Stuff like decorating your house, making designs, doing stuff for your neighbors. I mean, in Wild World, the game can't even handle neighbors outside of their houses during multiplayer. And even if you want to go visit them inside, only 2 people can at a time. This includes your house, which, with the exception of fishing and catching bugs, multiplayer activity allows zero doing, and it is entirely showing. And if that sounds familiar, then you can understand why a game released 15 years later under the same guise would be a bit disappointing, but we'll get there. As GameStop puts it in their review of Wild World, it's pretty cool that you can now take Animal Crossing online. It's just a shame that the game doesn't give you more to do with it, like fulfilling some specific multiplayer objectives or tasks. Or how about Joe Foreman? The Wi-Fi multiplayer, as crippled as it is a worthy addition, but far from a perfect one. I would hazard a guess that the next Animal Crossing game won't land until 2008. Hopefully they will have figured out how to improve the multiplayer aspect so that Animal Crossing can stand as Nintendo's unique MMORPG. Cityfolk is basically the same thing, although now you can type messages much faster by plugging in a USB keyboard. And if you're really wanting the true gaming in 2008 experience, this is the first Wii game and the only Animal Crossing game to this day to offer in-game voice chat. Using the Wii Speak, you...
Mom, I'm not on the Xbox. This is the Nintendo. I'm going to do the dishes. Please, give me a minute. I just need...
Everybody memes on the Wii Speak now, and even back in the day, it's obviously flawed in design, but you have to understand how legendary it was hearing your friends' voices over the Wii. This is a time before Discord, before Skype, really before smartphones. So entering a friend's town and being able to talk to them or new people, that was neat, and that was basically the entire charm of long multiplayer sessions. You weren't about to hang around an extra hour to just endlessly spam emotes, but to chat, to vibe, I believe the youth labels it as. And even if you didn't have the Wii Speak, plugging in a keyboard allowed for much more practical messaging. It's how I met a good chunk of my friends that I'm still friends with now, for some reason. And we would talk for hours about the conduit while fishing.
You got 2 games, one already out already, Animal Crossing Cityfolk. And next game coming out is The Conduit. You know when that comes out? In North America? March of 2000. 9.
These days, though, there's nothing special about these two games' multiplayers. You would really only do it for nostalgia or trading or a town tour. And by the way, each time I say town tour, for most people, basically just your house. As far as chilling in the natural sense, we're past the age of needing to go to someone's town to spend time with them when you can just pull out a device from your pocket and get in touch with like a billion people simultaneously. So yeah, these two games online, or at least the Winfrey, is rather dated, although it was extremely novel for its time. Wild World is the second Nintendo game to include Wi-Fi capability, and Cityfolk is the first Wii game to utilize voice chat, which helped distract from the fact that there isn't much to do when you're still freaking out over the fact that you can do any of this at all. And when we travel 12 years into the future, New Horizons also has novelty. Not intentionally, but only by a preposterous amount of luck. Luck which runs out in the first 3 to 6 months of the game's duration. The minute quarantine ends and I'm able to see my friends in real life again, I can also see this game's multiplayer for what it is: purgatory. And that's admittedly being very one-sided and generous, because even during lockdown when I was playing online nonstop, the multiplayer was still a shit experience for a game released in 2020. The long load times, the restrictions that continue to make playing alone preferable to playing with friends, and they got rid of the... Wait, I skipped over a really important game just now. What makes this series remarkable is how attentive the developers are behind the series to consumer feedback. It's kind of what led to multiplayer being included in the first place, fans wanting real simultaneous multiplayer on GameCube, although I'm sure Nintendo would have arrived at that point alone. But following the general meh attitudes toward Wild World and Cityfolk's multiplayer, something really cool happened. The individual players make it fun, and I don't mean that in the fun to socialize with type of way I've mentioned up to this point. I mean players literally took it upon themselves to create fun mini-games to play when having people over. Wi-Fi games. This ranges from what you would expect, playing tag with axes, scavenger hunts, races with pitfalls built in, hide and seek, to some of the more funky stuff you could do with lots of planning or homebrewing enabled. I particularly remember making my house in Cityfolk into an obstacle course maze thing, and this other game where we would begin a timer and you had to see how many flowers you could trample in like a 4x4 area. It felt like something out of Mario Party. And no, the games weren't perfect. They're at the mercy of Nintendo's Wi-Fi, and whatever player is hosting them, you have to put in a lot of effort to both build them and then also give up a piece of your town. But it's really cool these could be put together in the first place. So when Cityfolk eventually flops and Nintendo is thinking up ways to win over fans with the next Animal Crossing, finally, they give us a nightclub. Also, they had an island you could go to and play minigames with your friends. It's a lot of fun. They've got several modes and difficulties. You earn stuff from it. I just played this a couple months back when the servers were going down, and to this day, I'm shocked at how fun it is to do things like the Labyrinth Tour, the Hide and Seek Tour, the Item Matching Tour. At times, it is a little slow, and given that voice chat and USB keyboards are no longer an option on the 3DS, it makes the communication somewhat tangled, especially if you're playing with random people, which that was also an option on Club Tortimer, but it's a great time all in all. But the nightclub. There's a reason people love New Leaf, and that's because it was Nintendo trying so hard to give us the features we wanted. It truly, I mean, the people's Animal Crossing. Adding that spice to multiplayer that introduces a whole new mode on top of the meatiest Animal Crossing game that ever lived. Okay, just for multiplayer, the Dream Suite, the Best Friends feature, the Street Pass Happy Home Showcase, 100 capacity friends list. There's so much to offer, so much ensuring that New Leaf multiplayer will be as smooth and as pleasant as possible. And the real trophy of it all, the official minigames, cementing the variety and growth of Wi-Fi gameplay, which is why I don't know what the they were well, almost. By the time it is 2018, Animal Crossing is officially announced for the Switch. Now is the time more than ever to bring the big guns. If New Leaf had some mini-games, the new Animal Crossing game should have more and bring back voice chat and do other new things. It's gotta innovate multiplayer the same way its predecessor did, and it especially needs to do that since Nintendo's now charging money for online. New Horizons should be the pinnacle of Animal Crossing multiplayer. Why am I building this up? You already know what happens. You already know they cut the fucking minigames.
But Voyan, you can't technically say they cut the minigames if they were never planned in the first place. Right, Voyan? 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 Hey, Voyan?
You know how hard it was to criticize this game in 2020?
Void.
I mean, when people were actively worshipping it, and don't get me wrong, I was loving it at the time too. I still think it's great. Apparently, I need to emphasize that every time we do this. You really couldn't say any negative thing about New Horizons because people would so swiftly backhand you with it's coming in the update. But looking back 4 years out, obviously things like minigames, well, they went out for milk and they never, which left people to once again fill in the gaps themselves as New Horizons asked them to do constantly. And hey, quite honestly, with terraforming, there's some really cool homemade Wi-Fi games that can be played here that I will admit. I will always applaud creativity and people really got to work. Spoiler alert for the ending speech I'll give in a few minutes. The players make Animal Crossing. They always have. Hopefully they always will. It is a magnificent community, and if it weren't for the wonderful people waiting on the other side of those dreadful menus and loading screen, no one would ever want to do this. Yet, there's still no game-based incentive for other players. New Horizons has no Tortimer Island, no Katie, no petitions. Why bother showing up? Like, no, for real, why should I come to your island? I can talk with you as a best friend, I can send you things in the mail, I can see your island in a dream address or a YouTube video, which doesn't require a capture card and is easier to make than ever before. And you want me to sit through the 2-minute load screen to actually go there? No, sir. It's funny how this is the game that brought us together during COVID because they tweaked the multiplayer just right so that we don't really need to visit after the initial trip. You can play with up to 8 people online. Woo! Why the fuck would I want to do that? I did wish for this as far back as Cityfolk when I had to pick and choose between friends who were coming over and awkwardly tell surprise guests that they needed to leave since I already promised that spot for someone else. So I'm very down for the 8 players New Horizons allows, but I'm not down to wait a total of 14 minutes in load times for everyone to arrive. Ah! Here we go again, 14 minutes. A Fortnite match, a trip for fast food, a piss poor white boy video essay, turning the game on. Hey, they brought back voice chat, only through the app, which you use on a phone. How many times do I have to bring them up, man? They're not paying me. New Horizons dedicates so much of its promotion to multiplayer. It even introduces to the series local multiplayer, which I could totally shit on for another 10 minutes, but that's not the point, so what is? That this game took a mechanic that's always been stale and was for once, for one game, on the up, and shoved it right the fuck back down. But it's ignored a lot of the time as a certain widespread illness event led to an inflated sense of value in this multiplayer and taking photos with your friends so you could post them online and say, physically apart, digitally together. One thing New Horizons did do right is allow permissions with the best friends feature. No more assholes coming into your town and cutting down trees or digging stuff up, not without consent at least. And I feel like this could have had so much more behind it. Best friends could move furniture or terraform or place designs. I would love if friends could help me decorate or if I could them, because that's what this game is all about. And if Animal Crossing is going to shift into its sandbox identity, then why hold back? Finally, allowing this would have been the perfect step. I would never close my gate if I could just continue playing how I do when it's closed, and it would finally bring... All right, let me try it like this. When the 3DS servers were going offline, I tried to spend as much time as I could making some final memories with New Leaf. I took to Twitter and asked some of you guys if you wanted to play. I spent the final moments with 2 very near and dear homies, and I played a lot of Tortimer Island tours. In that time, I really came to admire the cooperative, working towards a common goal in real-time themes of the minigames, which is why something like a build-together mode would be really cool in New Horizons, if not just more fun minigames. This aspect of camaraderie, I feel like, is one of the hugest, most untapped potentials in the Animal Crossing series, and I really hope we get to see this again at some point in the future, because the Wi-Fi days for New Leaf, those are over. You can no longer, you can no longer play.